Alex Bregman's big performance for the Boston Red Sox last night is completely indicative of the difference maker he'll be for this team moving forward.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I'm here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And want to know the best part? It's free, so you have literally nothing to lose but to check it out because I am here for you every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the show. And it certainly is a happy Wednesday for Red Sox fans because the team is coming off of a nice win last night against the Tampa Bay Rays. They won that game 7-4 after having a dreadful performance in the first game of the series on Monday night. That was key, getting that win last night, because now anybody can still take the series today. And if the Red Sox can walk out of this series with a series win, then you know what? Okay, they can say game one of it was a fluke. They just did not have it that night, and the Rays bats were just on fire that night, and there wasn't a whole lot the Red Sox could do. And then if they win today, they can say, okay, we still won the series at the end of the day. So these blowout losses are really tough, but you can bounce back from that a lot easier mentally than you can from a close game, because in a close game, you're beating yourself up over what should we have done differently in order to win this game, whereas in a blowout, there's not much you can really say other than, okay, they had it and we didn't. So Red Sox certainly did bounce back, earned a 7-4 win, although the last inning was not easy as Zach Kelly was throwing in the game, and he had to be pulled because he couldn't get through the inning. He ended up giving up 2 runs, and then Aroldis Chapman finished it by striking out the last batter of the game to give the Red Sox the win. He got the save. Starting pitcher Walker Buehler threw 5 innings, giving up 3 hits and 2 earned runs. He did walk 3 and strike out 3. He gave up a home run, but overall, I liked Buehler's performance. The first 3 innings, he was spot on, absolute nails. And then in the last couple innings, he did start to struggle a little bit by putting people on base, and he just lost his command a little bit more. But his fastball was very strong in that game. So if he can hone in on that and keep that fastball under wraps the rest of the season, he could be a very reliable starter for this rotation. So lots of things that I liked about this game. I'm going to be touching on the biggest story of the game, which is Alex Bregman's huge night. Also going to be talking about the offensive success that we've seen from Trevor Story lately and what it might mean for the future of another infield prospect that the Red Sox do have. And you're going to be hearing from that prospect on today's show a little bit later. But Alex Bregman, a guy the Red Sox paid big money in this offseason to come in and help boost this Red Sox team, both offensively and defensively. Now, he is the reigning Gold Glover at third base, so the Red Sox knew going into the season that they would get somebody who would help ideally improve their infield defense. And so far, he hasn't been great defensively. He has made a few errors at third. I'm hoping and trusting that he can clean that up, because at the end of the day, he is one of the best defenders in the league. But offensively, I mean, he has certainly not been a disappointment for this Boston Red Sox team. Early on in the season, he started off very slow, but ever since then, he has been chipping away and picking up hits here and there, and it all was leading up to last night, a career 5-for-5 night at the plate for Bregman. Legitimately, every single at bat that he was up there, he got a hit, and that was really cool to see. 2 home runs in the game, 4 RBIs. The game could not have gone better for him, and the biggest thing about Bregman is that he's so humble that he didn't even act super overly excited about it. He was all smiles at the end of the game, but it wasn't this huge, crazy celebration as if he had just won the World Series. For him, it's any other day, and he performed his job to the best that he could have. last night. And that's a true leader of a team. And he just was seeing the ball very well in this game. Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to follow that up tonight with an even bigger performance or even a performance that matches it, because he is going to be placed on the paternity list as his wife is giving birth to their second child. So he's flying back to Boston. And Alex Cora is really happy for him because he goes from having this big game last night to now welcoming another child into his family. So that's very exciting for him. And the Red Sox could easily move Rafael Devers to third to fill his spot. But the Red Sox instead plan to call up Nick Sogard to replace him. Sogard batted .273 with no home runs and 8 RBIs in 31 games for the Red Sox a season ago. He played every infield spot for Boston except catcher, which included 7 appearances at the hot corner. Although he is off to a tough start with AAA Worcester this season, hitting .159 with 4 RBIs and 2 stolen bases in 12 games. So he might struggle when he gets called back up here. Obviously, the Red Sox really don't want Devers to play third. They want to keep him in that pattern of being the designated hitter so that he can get used to that. So instead, they're going to call up Sogard. Luckily, if a player is on the paternity list, it's not for very long. So he would only be with the team for a temporary period of time. So even if he does struggle, it's not a huge detriment to this team. But if he gets called up again and he plays well, then that's really good for his confidence moving forward. And even if the Red Sox were to think about trades as it gets closer to the trade deadline, if he performs well at the major league level, he could draw some trade interest at that point. So that is what the Red Sox plan is when it comes to replacing Alex Bregman in the interim while he is on the paternity list. And he had this monster performance, 2 home runs, a double, 4 RBIs, and going 5 for 5. It was his first career 5-hit game. And he is a guy who definitely can continue that, because Alex Bregman has always been the type of hitter who understands how to take his at-bats and approach them in a way that works effectively for him. So he saw what was working for him in last night's game. So I expect him to continue to utilize that and carry it over into games moving forward. He's a really experienced hitter. He knows when to take pitches. He knows when to swing. And obviously, not everything has been falling for him to start the season, but this was a big night for him. And I hope that momentum doesn't get destroyed because of him going on the paternity list. But that was a great sign. Alex Bregman going 5 for 5 was a great sign for the Boston Red Sox moving forward, that they are paying a player who's going to make an impact. Because honestly, a little bit earlier on in the season, it was hard to see the impact that he could be making. And it was hard for people to confidently say, wow, I'm glad we signed Alex Bregman. And that was really unfortunate because there was a lot of hype surrounding him coming to Boston. And the idea of having that veteran presence on this team was exciting to people. And he wasn't exactly living up to the hype early on, but him having a big night, now I feel like he finally got himself on track to what he's supposed to be. I'm not saying he's going to go 5 for 5 every night because that's basically impossible, but I do feel like his bat is starting to be where it's at now, where it needs to be. And that's exciting to think about, because if Bregman continues to be productive offensively, it's going to be a difference maker for this team. His batting average is now up to .321 with a .365 on base percentage and .564 slugging. He has the best offensive numbers of the main lineup on this team right now, the guys who typically do play every day. You also have Willie Abreu, who's batting .310, Trevor Story at .311, and then you have Christian Campbell at .302. So those are the guys who are batting over 300 right now in this Red Sox lineup. But the fact that Bregman is one of those players who's batting over 300, and he was also brought here to put the Red Sox in serious playoff contention, it just has to feel good for him and for everybody around the Red Sox organization that he had a big night. Now, again, everybody goes in slumps. I'm sure he will go into another slump later on in the season as it progresses, but this is very promising for the Red Sox that he was able to go out there and mash baseballs in this game. Keep in mind that the Rays are playing at a spring training facility right now, so it's not their official ballpark. So hopefully he can continue this when they go back to playing in regular Major League ballparks and that it isn't just a spring training facility streak. But very good night for Bregman. I'm really happy with what I saw, was taking the right pitches, was really attacking that strike zone and was just going after it. And he just made really hard contact in the game. And whether this continues or not, nobody can take that night away from him, but I do feel like it is going to continue. He's always been the type of player with the ability to adapt when things are going well for him, so he'll continue to likely use a similar approach at the plate, and I feel like he's going to have a sustainable level of success offensively for this Boston Red Sox team. It hasn't really been talked about as much as it should, but he has been a steady presence offensively, and that was the epitome of that. So big night for him. Hopefully he makes the rest of this contract worthwhile. And speaking of making contracts worthwhile, there's another player on this team who may be making his contract a little more worthwhile this year, and that's Trevor Story. I'm going to be talking a little bit about him next. Basketball and hockey playoffs are heating up, and there's no better way to turn your sports knowledge into real rewards than with Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy. With Prize Picks, you simply pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and you're in. You can even combine players across sports, basketball, hockey, baseball, and more, for your chance to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Here's what I'm picking this week in basketball. I am picking Jason Tatum to score more than 30 points. I just feel like he's really excited for this playoff moment, and this is his time. So look out for that. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. The Boston Red Sox certainly ran their game on Tuesday night against the Tampa Bay Rays, where this team walked away with a 7-4 win, highlighted specifically by the performance of Alex Bregman, who went 5 for 5 on the night. He was on cycle watch for basically the whole game. He was just a triple shy of that, but either way, great game for him, and this is the type of player that the Red Sox paid to be here. This was a game where he made a ton of noise and said, hey, I'm here and I'm going to make an impact. And moving forward, I expect nothing less than a lot of success from him offensively. I think early on in the season, he had to still get into the swing of things and find his stride again and figure out what worked for him and what didn't work for him in terms of his approach at the plate. And now that he seems to have figured that out, I do think we're going to continue to see solid offensive performances from him, which is what the Red Sox need. It would be a lot of money to spend on a guy who can't produce offensively. And that is exactly what's going on with a guy named Trevor Story. They are paying him a lot of money, and he wasn't producing offensively over his first few seasons in Boston. Now, his 6-year, $140 million contract with the Red Sox includes $140 million guaranteed and an average annual salary of $23,333,333. In 2025, he's earning a base salary of $22,500,000 while carrying a total salary of $22,500,000. So no joke of a contract there that Trevor Story got. And while that is a lot of money, the biggest factor in that was going to be, was he going to produce? Because if he produces and it's a lot of money, that's a different story than if he doesn't produce and it's a lot of money. And in his first few seasons in Boston, he spent a lot of time on the injured list. And when he was out there, he wasn't able to produce offensively. And you know what? This year he is producing offensively as he strung together another 2 hits in the Red Sox win on Tuesday night, going 2 for 5. He also took 1 strikeout, but he has been producing. His batting average now is at .311 with a .329 on base percentage and .459 slugging. And the biggest thing about Trevor Story that I really like about his swing this year is that he is able to connect on more off-speed pitches. Now, a big concern I still have about him is his ability to come through in big moments when the Red Sox have runners in scoring position and they need somebody to come through. A lot of times that's when Story puts together some pretty poor at-bats, swinging at pitches that are in the dirt, and he still does that even on good at-bats that results in a hit. He still puts together some bad swings at those pitches in the dirt, and that's something that I'm looking for from him moving forward to improve on in his game, is to cut down on swinging at those types of pitches, because he's definitely in the mix of being one of those top scoring producers for the Red Sox this season, but he just needs to try to back off of those pitches a little bit more, because he gets strike three on those a lot when they're going into the dirt. So that's one thing I will say about Story. But this year so far, even compared to his first few seasons in Boston, has been an improvement. I mean, for example, in 2022, his batting average was 238 on the season. 2023, it was 203. And in 2024, it was 255. Now he's hitting 304. So this is a big leap so far compared to what he did those last few years. And the biggest thing also right now is that he's healthy. He has played in 18 games so far for the Red Sox this season, whereas last year he only played in 26 games and 43 games in 2023. So the injuries have definitely plagued him. He is a guy who hasn't had the opportunity really to showcase what he can do. And maybe now that he is fully healthy and he's in the lineup every day and he's back to being the full-time shortstop, that maybe now we're starting to see his capability a little bit more offensively. And I brought this up on the show during the offseason because I was saying that I had high hopes for Trevor Story in terms of his abilities to produce in 2025. And I said, we really shouldn't count him out just yet, because this is a guy who has not gotten a truly full offseason with the Boston Red Sox yet. And he has spent a lot of time on the IL in his time here. So let's give him a shot when he's fully healthy to go out there and produce. And he got a full offseason with the Red Sox because his first offseason here was when he was acquired, and the Red Sox acquired him late in the offseason. So he got it cut short. And also with the injuries, he didn't get a full offseason after that with the Red Sox. So now that he finally did, he's going out there and he is hitting. And that is going to make the Red Sox contract that they gave him even more justifiable. And every night that goes by, when I hear or see people mentioning Marcelo Meyer and that the Red Sox should call him up, for what? Why rush him up right now when Trevor Story is producing a lot this season? And I think Story knew going into the season that this was going to be a big year for him, because fans were starting to doubt him and his ability to produce in Boston because of all the injuries that he's faced and not really being able to find a lot of success earlier on. And also the fact that they had Marcelo Meyer, who's in AAA right now, who is definitely on the Red Sox radar as a guy who they're waiting patiently on for when he comes up. So Trevor Story, I feel like, knew that if he wasn't performing well, his time could be limited in terms of how many days he's on the Red Sox everyday roster. Because if the Red Sox felt like they needed a shakeup because he wasn't performing, then there would be a chance that they bring up Marcelo Meyer. So if I'm Story, I'm really excited about the season that I'm having so far right now, batting over 300 for the Boston Red Sox. Is this going to last? Hopefully, maybe not. I'm sure at some point his batting average will dip a little bit, but it's a good sign that it's been a few weeks now into the season, and so far he hasn't really dipped much at all in terms of that batting average, and he's been able to consistently get at least one hit on the board in every game that he has played in the majority of the time this season. And that's key, because The thing with Story was that there were a whole lot of strikeouts and not nearly enough of making good contact with the baseball. And that's something that he seems to have switched gears on this year. And moving forward, I'm going to be looking for that to continue from him. Marcelo Meyer hasn't been hitting as well in AAA right now as the Red Sox had wanted him to anyway. He definitely needs some more reps down there in AAA. And for me, because I have been to a few Woo Sox games because I now cover them with the media, what I've noticed about Meyer is that his plate discipline isn't necessarily all still there, and he can crush baseballs really hard to the outfield, but the execution isn't always 100% there. So I do think he could benefit from some more time in AAA, and the Red Sox definitely are in agreement on that because there have been no talks at all about bringing him up. Story is a durable and reliable player who not only plays good defense, he made a really nice play early in the game last night defensively to get the ball to first base, but now that he's also producing offensively, there's no reason for the Red Sox to give up on him. So that's something that he deserves a lot of credit for, is his ability to make an impact offensively night after night for this Boston Red Sox team right now. And that makes me really happy because I was rooting for Story. He's a guy who definitely is a great leader for this team and a good mentor for some of the younger players. He has this Trevor Story camp in the offseason where he brings in some of the younger players on the team, gives them advice and works with them a little. Not a lot of major league players take the time to do that. And the fact that Story does do that makes him a true leader and somebody you want to have around the clubhouse here. And the biggest thing for me was I just wish that that leadership would transition to his skills on the field and that he'd be able to also improve his game day after day. And I do feel like this season he is showing us, hey, I'm here and I'm capable of being a really good player for you guys on both sides of the ball. And that certainly has been the case. So Marcelo Meyer coming up, likely not happening for a while now with the success that we've seen from Trevor Story, but hopefully he's able to stay healthy. That's going to be the biggest thing with Story moving forward is, can he stay on the field? Because that in his time with the Boston Red Sox has been the biggest thing. So we're going to need him to not experience these injuries that sideline him for a few months at a time, because then what would happen is the Red Sox would probably end up moving Rafaela to shortstop and Campbell would probably play in the outfield, and it would involve some shifting, and then the Red Sox whole scheme would get thrown off and the routine would get thrown off. So hopefully he can stay healthy. I really like what I've seen from Story so far. Biggest key for him, health and maintaining this offensive productivity of aiming to put at least one hit across the board whenever he's out there so that he can make a difference in an impactful way every night for this team. And speaking of infielders, what does Vaughn Grissom's future look like for the Boston Red Sox as they try to navigate their infield situation? That's coming up next. There's nothing better than catching an MLB game live. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, and the smell of ballpark food. And if you're looking to go last minute, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. With last-minute deals, all-in pricing, and a lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, ticket prices drop as Game Time gets closer, meaning you can score an incredible deal. I recently grabbed last-minute tickets for a game, and Game Time had unbeatable prices, which meant more money for food and merch. This makes finding the best deals effortless. It filters out the fluff and highlights the top discounts in the stadium. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. I love Game Time a lot. I don't use any other ticketing vendor anymore, so I highly recommend you checking it out the next time you want to go to a sporting event. As the Boston Red Sox continue to navigate through the season, they are trying to figure out what to do with their infield because obviously Trevor Story has been playing very well this season so far and has contributed in a positive way, both offensively and defensively. And then they have Christian Campbell playing second base, who they felt very confident in. He went 0 for 5 in last night's game, but he's still batting .302 with a .392 on base percentage and .508 slugging. The biggest thing about Christian Campbell that I have noticed is he struggles with the breaking balls inside. He swings and misses at those all the time. So that's something he definitely needs to improve upon in his game. And also his defense, I'm not completely sold on yet. Definitely need to see him play a little bit more defense to really know how to evaluate him defensively. I just don't think we've seen enough of that yet. But as far as right now goes, the Red Sox really like Christian Campbell. They don't really have a reason to pull him from the lineup because overall he has been finding a lot of success. And that raises a pending question. What happens with a guy like Vaughn Grissom, who played in the majors last year, did miss a lot of time with an injury, but got a lot of reps with the Red Sox, and when they traded for him, they intended for him to be the starting second baseman, which at the time was true, but then he got injured, and now they have Christian Campbell. So what do? He had a big night last night for the Woo Sox too. He doubled 3 times in the game and ultimately went 4 for 6 with 3 doubles and 3 RBIs, the first 3-double game of his career. A strikeout and a walk put 2 on for him, and he delivered the third of his 5 hits of the night, plating the fourth and final run of the inning. He would plate a run in the 6th on a fielder's choice to make it 5-1, and then in the 8th, after a Roman Anthony single, he put a cap on his big day with an RBI double off the wall and right. So he had a big night offensively and made a huge impact for the Woo Sox. Now, the reason that this is notable is because you look at the Red Sox infield situation right now and you say, well, where does he fit in? Because what happens if he continues to explode offensively with the Woo Sox? Obviously, it's one game. He could be up and down. This is a game in which he happened to be on fire. And what happens if moving forward he continues to be? Then do the Red Sox start to wonder, do we look to trade him because he is building trade value now because he continues to put together solid performances in AAA? Or do we give him a shot back up in the majors and send Christian Campbell down if he starts to struggle? I think the unknowns of that are certainly still there. And I actually spoke with Vaughn Grissom at Woo Sox Media Day and asked him a little bit about what he's going to work on this year to get back to the majors. Tune into that conversation.
How would you kind of describe the spring that you had generally? Like, how are you feeling about that?
I feel pretty good. I felt like, I did some good things. There's some obviously things that I work on. It is spring training, so it's one of those things where you ramp up and do what you got to do. But I felt pretty good about it.
Yeah, that's good. What specific things would you say you're trying to work on a little bit more going into the season?
I guess I would say my first step to the right, there's a bunch of things that I'm trying to, get better at, and it's the whole game always,
Right, yeah, it's definitely, you have to be versatile and you have to be able to do a lot of different things to succeed in this game, right? Obviously, there's different levels in Major League Baseball, and being here at this level, like so close to, the majors, and you had a taste of that last year, what do you think it's going to take for you to get back there?
Just the right opportunity, I guess. Got to play my game and do what I can do, and I feel like the rest will take care of itself.
So Vaughn definitely has the work ethic and drive to succeed at the major league level. He fully understands that it's a day-by-day thing and that there are certain things that are out of his control. And I really respect his ability to talk so openly about what he has to work on in order to get himself back to the major league level. And the question is going to be, is he going to get back to the majors? And if so, where is it going to be? Because it doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense for him to still remain in the Red Sox organization. So the reason that his performance last night is so notable is because we're going to want to continue to monitor his performances in AAA, because if he continues to have really strong performances like that, that's only building up his trade value. And it makes it an easier argument for the Red Sox to say, well, we should trade him because there's not really a place for him on this team right now. I definitely appreciate guys who understand the situation. And I'm pretty sure he knows that the Red Sox right now, currently in the infield, don't exactly have a spot fully for him, but he's going to continue to chip away and grind, and whatever happens, happens. And Christian Campbell is somebody to keep an eye on over the course of this season as well, because if he starts to struggle a little bit in the majors, the Red Sox might send him down to AAA to get some more reps there and kind of get his game back on track. And Grissom probably would be the guy that they would pull up because he plays second base, and they would give him an opportunity, especially if he's red hot in AAA at the time and Christian Campbell is struggling up. So it's definitely something to keep in mind, but I'm really happy for Vaughn because I know he's been working really hard, and with his injury setting him back, he had a hard time motivating himself to get back on track, and now he's back and he just wants to perform to the best of his ability. And having a big night like that is definitely a huge confidence boost for a guy like that who wants to go out there and just wants nothing but to be his absolute best and give 100% all the time. So lots of pending questions remain here for the Red Sox as the season progresses. Is what is their trade deadline going to look like? What players are they going to have to make some hard decisions on? Who's going to be on this team as a piece of the puzzle for the future? Because they still haven't fully formulated that as we progress here. So lots of pieces and holes that they have to fill and things to consider as the rest of this season goes on. But the biggest thing that they have to consider is winning games, because that's what's going to be important here. And you have to feel good after last night's game, knowing that the bats were working and things were going well for the Red Sox, so that moving forward now they can focus on trying to go into tonight and win this series and then let that success continue to carry over. So we'll see how it happens, but I appreciate you tuning into Locked on Red Sox and making it your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all new Locked on MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked on MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's a great time, just a bunch of us MLB hosts chatting about the latest happenings across the league. So make sure that you check that out. You can find that wherever you get your podcasts. As always, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.